This episode of Ticket Volume is brought to you by us, InvGate. Get service operations under control in no time. Get 1 free month of our software solution by going to try.invgate.com. Ticket Volume is proud to present 3 guests. The first got their start in database, web development, and print sales before joining Runshaw College as a developer and systems analyst. After 10 years at the college, he moved to management and eventually moved to his current position as the head of IT services at Runshaw College. He's also an ITIL4 master. His service desk team also won SDI's Best Service Desk in 2022. Our second guest is a returning guest. He's also the author of Leadership Distilled, Serving with Purpose, and he's the director of technology experience for Power Design, Inc. He's also a former program manager for the District of Pasco County and an international speaker. He's a co-host on the podcast Mastermind for the Masses, and his service desk team are the current holders of the SDI Award Best Service Desk for Small and Medium Companies 2023. Our third guest is a dedicated service delivery manager with over a decade of experience within ITSM, who excels in service desk management and end-user computing, as well as project management. She got her start in executive support at Euromonitor International before switching to a sales ops role at another company, and then finding her way back to Euromonitor, where she has been managing teams and service delivery for over 7 years. Welcome to Ticket Volume, news and information for improving IT experiences. I'm your host, Matt Barron, and on each episode, I get the opportunity to chat and geek out with different leaders to share their insights on service management, technology, business, whatever nerdy, geeky stuff comes to mind. And this episode is going to go deeper into service management than we usually do. So I hope you're having a great day because we're going to get deep into it. And I hope that you'll leave a comment, connect with us, or share our podcast with someone. Get involved, get us improving. Now let's begin. Welcome to Ticket Volume, Joshua Nelson, Alex Harding, and Sarah Jayne Bulley.
Bully.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, sorry about messing up your last name.
You're fine.
And, bully, I didn't want to call you a bully.
I normally say Bulley to make it a little bit
nice.
posher, but it's okay.
Oh, that's a good move. Ticket Volume, you've gotten one tip already. If your name sounds like something else, consider a French pronunciation. Sophie Housset, for example.
And bouquet rather than bucket.
Yeah, exactly.
These two won't get We'll send you a clip. I
love it. So today what we're getting together, the inspiration for this episode was really to talk about building a service desk from scratch. And although I looked high and low for people with experience building service teams from scratch, I found that you three are judging the SDI Best Service Desk of the Year award for 2024 / 2025 because they moved over to the next year. And in asking you three if you know anyone who has started a service desk from scratch, you all three have very valuable experience in that category. And I was quite frankly surprised because there weren't that many people in my network that had built one from scratch. So let's talk about that, because the SDI award program, for those of you that are unfamiliar, has 5 levels of service desk ratings. At least I think that's correct. Guests, keep me honest on this one if I'm wrong. Just feel free to interrupt me. And those varying levels have different attributes, different aspects, different check boxes, if you will, that you need to have in place or feel comfortable in that maturity to be ranked at that level. Is that a pretty good summary? Who can do a better summary of that for me?
I think that's a good summary. There's 5 levels starting from reactive, and then the first level where you'd be considered as certified is proactive. Moving on to customer-led, business-led, and then world-class, which there are very, very few, but hopefully there'll be 2 more early in the new year.
Oh, I love this. Because specifically because words matter in this, right? So many times I've had service desk managers say those words. We are world class. I want to be world class. So Sarah Jayne, when I talked about new service desks and building service desks from scratch, you talked specifically about some experience that you've had in that space. Talk about a level 1 maturity service desk. What do you find there? What does it feel like?
Yeah, previously worked on a service desk where there were three of us with a very basic build ITSM model that actually came out of the primary CRM system for the organization. So it really wasn't predominant as an ITSM tool, and we didn't have any ITIL framework inbuilt. So it was felt very off the fly, did feel reactive. There wasn't any kind of continuous improvement or feedback loops. And I think not only do you notice it when you're dealing with clients or users, end users, as we called them at that time, but it's also very noticeable in the build of the career of a service desk analyst. You know, if you don't have that structure of training in place, you really find that immediate demotivation in a service desk member. Now, even though there were three of us, even sometimes, as we all know, service desk staff, regardless of size or volume of the team or department, we're high performing. And so it's even more pressurized when you have that small volume of team. And it was very, I like to use the word fluid, but not in a good way, very reactive. And it became very evident that we really needed to put that framework in. And obviously at the time it was ITIL v3, and it really flew after that. And the immediate feedback from the end users, plus our external clients as well, was really noticeable, and we just continue to grow from there. But there's many things that you can see in a level 1. Certainly that is that kind of disorganization, and quite quickly can demotivate a team.
That is so good. That summary is so good, Sarah Jayne. You have nailed how that feels so well. The words matter. Reactive, right? If you feel like you're in a reactive environment, just know that you are not at a very mature organization. It hurts, right? I think a lot of us know that it hurts to feel that way. And I really like what you called out there, that it's demotivating to not have a framework or a way to understand and grow. Like, of course, this is demotivating. That's why we've always had career ladders, so you know where you're going. And then you need that as a group, as an operational unit too. This is where we're headed. Here's why we're headed there. Because these ambitious people that are joining our company and joining our teams, they've got ideas. They want to improve. They need a framework to put those improvements into place. Otherwise, they'll feel stuck. They'll feel like they're being tortured in a way.
Ticket machine, a human ticket machine.
Human ticket machine. Alex, what have you got to add about a level 1 maturity?
So I was going to take something similar to what Sarah's just said about a human ticket machine, but you're just doing stuff. Maybe you don't know why. Maybe you don't know what the end goal is, or the bigger picture about why you're doing it. You've probably not got concrete process. You maybe sort of do request an incident and understand the difference between them at that level, but maybe not some of the deeper stuff that's going to make you more efficient, looking at problem and change, and then moving out into some of the other practices. I think for me is that level 1 is that reactive stuff.
Yeah.
With nothing tangible to bind it together. Well, hopefully agents know what the organization's all about and who they're supporting, but you don't always see that.
Hope. Yeah. Hope. It's a run on hope. Josh, what have you got to add? Because you started a service organization, right? It was just you and one guy, and then you added. You were growing from there. Is that right?
Yeah, so we started with one other guy, and eventually I wound up having about 82 direct reports serving that. So it definitely a lot of growth over time. But I think going back to kind of that original question around that 1-star or that level 1 service desk, not only do you maybe not feel connected to the business, but the business also doesn't feel connected with you.
That's really good.
Right. And I don't think at that point the value is being seen necessarily, and you don't seem like a strategic partner. And it's very difficult to get to those higher levels unless you can achieve that strategic partnership.
Nailed it, dude. Nailed it. Everyone feels bad in the reactive state. It's not just your agents. It's not just you. It's the people you're serving. Great call out, Josh. And also, great job getting your disaster recovery plan put into place on this podcast. Well done, sir. That's hard to do mid-podcast, so I appreciate it. It's always nice to have a couple pros here that have done some podcasts before. So let's talk we're going to stay here in low-level maturity for just a little bit longer. What does it look like beyond reactive? What channels are people using? What technology are people using? Is a ticketing tool in place at this point? What are some of the specifics? What do I want to say? What are some of the specific traits of a level 1 maturity service operation?
I can tell you, I had no ticketing system. I had a phone that people could call and an email that they could reach, which the challenge with that is a couple of things. One, it's easy to miss something or forget about it. You can come up with ways. Yeah, you can flag it and you can do all sorts of different things to try to keep on top of it, but it's a lot easier to drop the ball. It's also very difficult to justify any additional investment in your team because it's hard to point to the data. And, a lot of people like to make their decisions based off of data. So just saying I'm busy is not as powerful as saying I have, we have received 10,000 issues this year. So that justifies another position or whatever that might be, possibly the investment in a ticketing system if you don't have one.
So, Sarah Jayne, you mentioned metrics when we were preparing for this episode. What are some of the metrics that you think people start with? What is your experience in that space?
I think in terms of with metrics, for me, very much at your level 1, you are kind of distinguishing between incident and service requests. But actually, I think it goes back to the channels and the way that people, certainly having experienced a kind of level 1 reactive situation, is very much direct to one-to-one. So even though there was a ticketing system, the traffic was always at the time, I'll send an email to one analyst. I know I'm going to jump the queue to get quicker. And it's such a dangerous way of doing things because you really cannot, and it goes just to before, you can't calculate data. Especially, and not only just data and metrics, it also affects the feedback because a person is sending an email to an analyst, the analyst is out and it's just sitting there. So your negative feedback is going rocketing because of the channels aren't correct in the way that people should be utilizing a self-service portal of a ticketing system. So it's really hard to kind of build the baseline of where are we now and where do we want to be kind of metrics. So in my experience, it was very high level metrics. And even then it wasn't accurate because you knew that people were skirting around the ticketing system and going straight to an email or picking up the phone.
I love this because this is something that everyone experiences, right? Like even at the mature organizations, you see this happen where someone skirts a process and then their experience is terrible after that. The agent's experience is terrible. The customer's experience is terrible. And I think, like, if I may, when you're maturing, you need to be able to make those mistakes. And it's tough because you felt like you were reactive, and now we got this ticketing system in place, but now the users are going around it, and you feel like a failure in that moment. You feel like you're not improving in the right way, or you're making mistakes, and you are making mistakes. But that is really where I think teams start to improve, and it's okay to make 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Don't forget that is also a part of the journey. Stepping backwards is part of the journey. Alex, what have you got to add when people are moving from a really low environment and just trying to get their feet under them? What would you add to that point of
Josh hit on this before about being that trusted business partner. I think your team's got to be disciplined when you're moving up to that second stage, and where we've got a ticketing system, we've got rules, we've got process. Team's got to be disciplined enough to be able to have a adult conversation with the user that's gone round the process,
Yeah.
maybe you still do the job for them, but you explain that you're going to log a ticket, that there's other tickets there, and this is how we prioritize, and this is what the business values, and this is how we're going to decide prioritization. I think it's getting your staff to have that maturity and that understanding themselves. Never mind the customer, that the customer can't just come around you, that the staff have got to follow those rules and those processes. And I think, as Sarah said, that's when you start to be able to build those metrics up and potentially have some targets come along there. You've got some tangible data to base decisions on then. Yeah, that having a pet technician is in our environment, it's a big thing. Dave always fixes my Macs. Yeah, but Dave's not on. Dave's not here at the minute, and many other people in the team can fix your Mac. Yeah,
pet agent.
I just want to hit on something because I think Alex just does it so naturally. He glossed over it a little bit, but it's an important point, right? Is even though the customer maybe isn't adhering to it, you take the initiative to put that ticket in for them. You're educating them on that process, and you're adhering to the process, because the counter to that, and what I would say is more of a level one experience, is I can't help you go put in a ticket, right? Instead of taking that step for putting the ticket in for them. I think that is a distinct difference between a more mature desk and a less mature desk, is where does that responsibility fall? So
that is such go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to add to that, Josh, is also, and Alex, I think is also, and I think you were just touching upon it, Alex, about having that assertiveness as a team. And I think this is where it becomes into play as service desk leaders, that it's imperative to build that confidence in analysts through empathy and resilience, and having that assertiveness to feel confident enough to say to a VIP, no, I'm sorry, in order for us to get a return of investment of your service desk and build as a business partner, we really need you to use a ticketing system. So you're coming out of the service desk zone and talking their language. And I think that's one of the certainly things that I've learned in the journey of service desk life, is try and have a look at your market audience and talk their language so that they can understand, I need to do KPI metrics, because as a salesperson, if I get it when you're saying that if I don't log a ticket, it's going to hurt your investment in resourcing. So it's really the responsibility at that point, when you're evolving in maturity, to build on people skills, which I think sometimes we always, you rarely hear it these days, but the term of soft skills, they're not soft skills. They're the most imperative skills to have on a service desk, that I think sometimes get overlooked even to this day.
Yes. On this podcast, we call them power skills. That's what we're calling them from now on. Power skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alex, what were you going to add there?
I was just gonna joyride Sarah's point there. So I was asked to actually go and speak to our computing students a couple of months back about what skills they'll need moving into work after academia, and I'm going to use your phrase. It was those power skills that are probably as important than anything else, and perhaps the thing that somebody starting out in the service desk, whether you're starting a service desk from scratch or you're joining one at any maturity level, getting hot on your power skills is what's going to take you and the organization far.
Yes,
absolutely.
And reiterating Sarah Jayne's point, the organization needs to be supporting those agents in their growth, in their psychological safety. We need to be building teams. And here's the other thing that came to my mind. These maturity levels, we're judging IT, we're judging service desks, but really, you've nailed it. It's not just the service desk. It's the entire business needs to mature. All of us, and I love that ancient language thing that you called out, Sarah, because I used to carry a 3x5 note card when I was on call at all times that had, executive, it had R&D, it had doctor. And if one of those was an on-call call, and it wasn't an on-call call, it was their emergency, not our emergency, I knew exactly what language to use and how to say it. And because I had it scripted, emotions were removed from it, because I always felt like I was being attacked. You woke me up at 3 a.m. for something that is clearly not business critical. I always felt really defensive and attacked, and my emotions got sky high, sky low, or ground low, underground low. And so that is such a good point, that if you say specifically to a sales rep, the sales rep is flippant. They're saying, you should be helping me with my air card because we're going to lose revenue if you don't fix this immediately. And you can say back to them, if we don't put in a ticket, we may lose all of our revenue because you're not following the process. We don't have enough staff to help every single person with every single thing at all times. Maybe you're not using this exact same language. Do not copy Matt's behaviors on this podcast to your service desk agents. But you get the idea that if you use the language of your customer and paint your processes in terms of their own needs, then they will join your team. They will be on board with you. And if they're still not, then you need to think about how are your processes aligned to those people? Because if it's not actually serving their needs, then, you've got a disjoint. You need to understand where you're going to grow. So let's talk about that. We're going from these low levels of maturity, highly reactive, to maybe we've got a ticketing system in place. We're starting to measure things. We're starting to see what kind of ticket volume we've got. And what is level 3? What when we get to level 3, because I think like a majority of service desks probably fall into this category. Where are they at? They've got a ticketing system in place. What additional processes are they adding? What value are they providing? I'd love to hear what you guys think a level 3 looks like.
I think the interesting thing at level 3 is it's called customer led, and for me, there was a big light bulb switch on moment when myself and the team leaders who I manage, we took a step back and tried to understand. Well, actually, if we're going to be customer led, we need to understand what the customer's doing. We need to understand more deeply about the business and make sure that every single process we've got lives the values of the organization, meets the mission, is going to help us achieve our vision. And so it's starting to align everything around what's our core business, what are our values, what are our goals, and IT's goals can follow on from that. That was the first big revelation when we looked to move to that stage.
I love that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's a really good point, Alex. I think having a really established mission statement as a service desk and values really incorporates, and I think it's really important to look at the business mission statement and values and try and align it, lead by example to other departments as a service desk. And you really then kind of build that supporting of team culture and suddenly become, the ethos of service excellence by, all of your team members, all of the team that are part of the service desk know what our values are, know the mission statement, and know what we bring to the business. And our mission statement here does align with the mission statement of Euromonitor. And it's something, we're driving forward as to our organisation to try and lead by example as a service desk. But until you hit that state of maturity, you're really not going to know your kind of core values and the mission that you want to achieve through a service desk strategy. And I think, having that service desk strategy, again, builds onto that maturity. So you can give that strategy to the organisation. This is who we are. This is what we're doing. This is who's who in terms of roles and responsibilities. So it's very clear to anyone. They can log on to self-service portal and have a look and see that strategy. So again, it's that driving the service desk to lead by example within an organization.
And what go ahead, Josh.
Well, I was just going to say, I'll add on to that, right? With the customer-led portion of it, I think it also gets you to start questioning who your customer is. I know as a leader, I start thinking about my employees as my customer. They are then serving our other employees in the business as a customer who, ultimately we're servicing that end customer as well. So if you can, and I guess that's my point with the 3-star certification side of things, is it's a very comprehensive level of maturity. If we do compare it to the SDC scale, there's only 0.25 to go from 3-star to 4-star. Like there's a very small window. So if you're at a 3-star, you could be at 3.74 as out of a 4-point scale. You're a very stellar desk already. It's now you're talking about to go to that next level, you're really fine tuning minute details. Once you hit that 3-star level, you're a very comprehensive area of service and support.
That's good. Shout out to those 3 stars. I mean, that really is a big deal. You know, I think we all know that 1 and 2 are fairly easy. I've seen dozens of bad consultants drive people from 1 to 2 over and over and over. The good consultants take you to level 3. They're the ones that help you adapt. They're the ones that help you understand that you need to specialize for your customer. You're not, you know, it's not all about revenue for these people, right? If revenue was the only goal, we'd see that as the company's goal, maximize revenue. Instead, usually the goals are much more altruistic, and then your department goals can align to those things. And yeah, this is a good spot to be. 3 stars is a great spot to be. You know, you're adapting. What is the next star? Because it sounds like that one is harder to get. So what is 4 stars?
So 4 stars is business led, right? So again, kind of reframing maybe what your customer is as the business as a whole. But that is when you are looking at the strategic alliance, you being a true strategic partner with the business and understanding what is the business trying to accomplish long term and how do you best support those initiatives, and not only support them but also help direct them, right? Because at that point your maturity is in such a way that you're actually understanding more of the business, understanding more about the customers, and you're actually able to provide, I think, valuable insight into where the business should be headed and any potential shortcomings that may be there, challenges that are unforeseen because, you know, they may not have that lens of service and support. So if the company, an example would be if the company wants to expand across to multiple areas of operation, is there a risk there that you won't be able to provide the same level of service and support? And maybe there is, but bringing that up at that time doesn't necessarily mean the business changes direction, but at least they can address those concerns and possibly grow the team, possibly come up with a different SLA. There's different things that may become part of the business's concern, and you get to add value with that.
If I may, I would love to know if this is accurate. Are we now proactive? Have we now shifted to being proactive? Like we see an opportunity in the market. Say you're a medical device manufacturer. You're making these widgets over and over and over, and you see an opportunity in the market, and then IT is then bringing those ideas to the business. Here is a way that our application development team can assist this other area of our business and build something really highly useful and valuable. Is that kind of where that's at? Where IT is literally like, I want to say it like this: before we're demand driven, we're receiving demand, we're creating outputs. In this 4th state, is it more like we are helping create the demand? We are helping understand the demand and then serving that purpose. Is that a good explanation, or am I way off base?
I like the explanation. I think it's a great way to put it, is the proactive side of things, because you do make that shift for sure. I think you're probably doing some of that in the 3-star level, hopefully switching from that reactive to proactive mindset. But yes, once you've achieved that and you live in that state, I'd say 4 stars definitely on your horizon.
Okay. And then I know that I've only got you guys booked for another 6 minutes, so I'm going to try to end on time so that you all can get to your next meetings, because I know that's important, whether it's your family or a meeting. I'm wondering, at level 4, that's where you get tested as an IT leader when you're asked to source or in-source or outsource something, right? Like, is that really where you're thinking, hey, should I betray everything that we've done and give it to another company? And maybe that's what's best for the business. Is that one of the challenging choices of a 4-star service operation?
I see it slightly differently there, Matt. Potentially, you've got to the point where you understand what can and what you can and what you should insource, and what you can and what you should outsource. Mm-hmm. For us, a big part of that journey was actually having less reliance on those external partners, and us developing capabilities ourselves so that we're truly self-sufficient, and that we can provide that on-par service across everything we do. It might be in some organizations that you've reached the point in maturity where you've worked out what is efficient to outsource.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always an interesting conundrum. I think probably as we're all at that level, we can probably evidence very easily why having that insourced is the right way for us.
Yeah. It's like self-awareness in a way. Like you come to this point where you realize, hey, we really suck at this service. Why are we doing this? We shouldn't be administering Exchange 2007 still, let's source that to someone else. We don't need to do that. Okay, so we need to get to level 5 before we end. What is level 5? What is the ultimate? What is the pinnacle of a service operation?
Well, I think for me, instead of betraying it, it's more about aligning all the resources, right? And all of the tools that you have. So I think that's critical for 5-star. I haven't quite achieved it here yet at Power Design, but it is on our roadmap. I think really focusing on all of those aspects. Again, I think the biggest challenge with this maturity growth model is ensuring that you stay comprehensive as you go. It's so easy to target one area and zone in on it and work and let other things drop. So really the challenge of a 5-star organization is to be able to take all of those things and elevate them while not losing sight of those objectives. So you become a really good balancer, I would say.
Sarah, how would you describe a 5-star service operation?
I think it's being finely tuned with business and the organisation. And I think also as well, learning sort of, if you can, in any service desk, seeing the trends that are coming ahead. We all know AI is a big thing right now, and we know that businesses are looking at AI. We are as an organisation, I'm sure, with Josh and Alex as well, they are. And I think it's just trying to be that kind of forecaster to know that transition of operations will ultimately land in the service desk. But I think as well, just keep on the trends of, a new term with psychological safety. It's something that's so imperative within the service desk, and having that as a leader is just looking at that and seeing how to organically grow that in a service desk. Being high performing teams, it's paramount that our emotional well-being is just as important as hitting these KPIs and being a business led function.
Love it. Alex, do you have anything you want to add?
I guess what I'd add is I've actually got the maturity level descriptions next to me. And there's a really cute one-liner. The organisation has achieved the ultimate level of quality. And as Josh was talking about before, the difference between 3 and 4 is so narrow. And for 5, you've got to have certified as 4 twice, and it is ticking those every last little box and working out what are those micro improvements we can make to keep going and keeping on with that improvement journey, regardless of that level we've reached. To quote a mutual friend of all of ours, John Octor would say, "You're breathing the rarefied air. You're right up there." Josh looks like he's heard that phrase before.
A few times.
We need to get John Octor on this podcast. That's what we need to do. That's what needs to happen.
Or just a quote at the end.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so I want to thank you all for your time today. Thanks for taking some time to talk about this on Ticket Volume. How can people connect with you and learn more? Sarah?
Yeah, feel free to connect to me on LinkedIn, just Sarah Jayne Bulley. One of the key things I'm really keen to hear about is how people are implementing psychological safety in their service desks and different ways that they're doing it. So please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Yes, and we've got an episode coming up on that in Ticket Volume, so feel free to reach out to me as well if you'd like to be on that podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I hope that you'll listen to it, Sarah Jayne. Honor me with your listenership. Alex, how can people get in touch with you and learn more?
LinkedIn's probably the primary way, or X if you want to see me complaining to various companies and CEOs across the world.
Nice. I do love some.
Probably LinkedIn for this.
Yeah. And hey, Twitter. I love seeing the stuff that people complain about too. Mr. Nelson, how can people connect with you and learn more?
I mean, this may come as a surprise, but LinkedIn's a great way. Dr. Josh Nelson there. You can also check out my website, drjoshnelson.com. Or as Matt mentioned kindly at the beginning of this podcast, I actually host a podcast as well called Mastermind for the Masses. Matt was actually on, and so was John Nocter, actually. So, you probably check out those couple of episodes. You'll really enjoy it.
Yes, it is a great podcast. And I want to thank you all. Thanks for being on Ticket Volume.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Thank you.
And
Thanks.
speaking of Ticket Volume, did you know that that you can join us for a live recording? We do live episodes every month. You can register today at ticketvolume.com and click on register. And thank you for listening. You can change and improve this podcast by DMing me or leaving a comment. And speaking of Ticket Volume, did you know that this podcast is brought to you by InvGate? It's a fit-for-purpose service desk solution with integrated asset management designed to let you focus on supporting your organization without having a huge team of administrators. In fact, IT teams from Toyota, NASA, and McDonald's use InvGate to manage requests, automate workflows, and centralize inventory data so that they can focus on delivering better service, because good service is good business.